I have to admit that my favorite book, The Martian, ruins space stories for me. See, Jupiter is at its closest 35 light minutes away from Earth, which means that any sort of information traveling between Earth and the ship would take 35 minutes to reach. It would be like the slowest call ever. Hi! 70 minutes later. Hi, how are you? It would feel like sending a text to your crush. Leaving this little science hole aside and the fact that the spider can basically swim in space in the scene I'm doing my 1-hour study on, I thought the film looked gorgeous, but the focus of the story was not that entertaining to watch. It tries to delve deeply into the psychological aspect of isolation of space travel, but has some inconsistencies I found by overthinking too much about it that kept getting me out of that part of the film. Like, why would you send a single person to a mission like this? When we see the South Korean ship, there's at least 2 crew members there. Maybe there's cost reasons, but I imagine that the difference between sending 1 and 2 people is minimal compared to the whole budget that it would take to just put the ship into space. Plus, it would also add a ton of benefits, like not having to deal with isolation, for example. Or maybe a different type of specialist could have fixed the cameras. I think Adam Sandler is a pretty good actor, and movies like this one allow him to shine a bit more than in comedies. The spider felt a bit distracting sometimes, especially its legs. I think they looked way too smooth, and I didn't understand if it had more special abilities than the mind exploration thing. I assume yes, since it seemed to go through solid objects, but I don't see why they never showed that. I love the choice of how to display the memories with that lens distortion, and I overall think it was an interesting take on loneliness. I didn't like Kunal Nayar's Peter that much. I think I associate him way too much with Raj after he played him for 12 years in The Big Bang Theory, and again I don't understand why he was the only way of communicating with the ship. You would have a whole team that would go through different ships fulfilling that role. Sci-fi is one of my favorite genres, and I'm sorry to be that picky with stuff like this, but when movies like Interstellar or The Martian have gone to great lengths to be accurate, it's hard to expect something different with these types of movies that feel very grounded and modern. They don't feel very futuristic at all, like a Star Trek or a Star Wars. You can suggest the final Adam Sandler film I'll watch tomorrow. See ya!